In the Chicago suburbs, there is an alleged bat monster terrorizing the locals. For several years now, reports have been coming in from the suburb of Carroll Stream regarding a creature about 1.3 meters tall, with giant wings looking like a humanoid bat. The most recent witness was driving early in the morning when he saw the beast take off from a small pond and fly into the sky. At first, he thought it might be a crane spooked by predators, but it looked too much like a bat. Skeptics say it's just an owl, but it has some distinct features that make that explanation not quite satisfying. For one thing, witnesses have described its wings as leathery, without feathers. It is also larger than any normal owl around Chicago. It could be some type of mutant, but no scientists have done a full analysis of the situation. Believe it or not, these weird sightings have been going on since 2017, with some people in Chicago comparing the bat-like monster to the legendary Mothman. Some say it has red eyes, some say it makes a weird chirping sound, but none have actually made contact with the thing, only seeing it from a distance as it flies through the night air. What an adrenaline rush that must have been, witnessing that bizarre beast taking flight. In 1952, a fireball was seen shooting across the sky. It was seen all across the United States. Confirmed reports came from California all the way up to West Virginia, showing that this wasn't a localized event, a sign of things to come in many ways. Residents in West Virginia, Edward and Fred May, saw the fireball crash on a nearby farm. Along with their friend, their mother and neighbor, they went to investigate the crash site. The area was covered in an odd mist, and a metallic sound of sorts was filling the sky. They went in closer to get a better look, when suddenly a pair of red eyes looked at them through the mist. It was then that they saw the creature in its full form. The creature was 3 meters tall and had a glowing green body. The strange cryptid hissed and started to approach them, which of course led them to fleeing for their lives. They told others what happened, and the people of the small town decided to go out and look for the monster. But they found nothing. There were some remains and deposits that definitely teased that there had been an entity there, but as to what it really was, no one could say. The people who saw the creature stuck to their story, and again the red fireball was indeed spotted all across the United States, so something definitely crashed down. But was there really a creature? Did it come from the fireball? The Flatwoods Monster remains one of the more unique cryptid stories ever told, and a creepy memory for that family to try and figure out. Not all animal rescues are from immediate danger. Take for example the dog known as Alfonso. He was in Michigan when he had a run-in with coyotes that led to him falling into the Detroit River. This in and of itself would have been something scary, but then if you can even believe it, he found himself in even more danger. Alfonso was stuck to a piece of ice floating down the river and unable to get off it. Due to that, he had frostbite on his paws and other body parts because he was on that ice for 4 days. He's doing pretty good today. He just came out of the hyperbaric chamber, Dr. Lucretia Greer said. We ran new labs today, more blood work, and his pancreatic values are improving nicely. They're still very high, but they've come down almost a couple thousand points, so we're really happy with that. The rescue was anything but standard as they had to go out on a boat to get the dog off the ice. They physically went out to this small island where he was, and they were able to physically rescue him, she said. He was hiding on this little uninhabited piece of land, but it was very difficult to get there because of the ice. Happily, the dog lived, but it must have been a very harrowing experience for it for many reasons. The Panama creature washed up on shore near the small town of Cerro Azul back in September of 2009. According to the original reports, the monster was half dead when it got stranded on the shore and then was beaten by a group of teenagers who thought it was some kind of paranormal creature. After all, it kind of looked like a hairless alien with long limbs, a plump belly, and a mushy face. The teenagers then took the corpse of the monster and gave it to a local TV station, claiming to have found a dead extraterrestrial. Naturally, there was some confusion over the real identity of the creature. It was doubtfully an alien that fell from the sky onto the beach. The rapidly decomposing body was handed over to the National Environmental Authority of Panama, and they performed a biopsy. This biopsy revealed the creature was indeed of this earth, and it wasn't actually a monster. Instead, it was a male brown-throated sloth. The reason it was bald is that it had been underwater for too long and all its hair had come off. It probably died on the coast somewhere, was swept into the ocean by a river, and then ended up on the beach in Panama. To be honest, this mysterious tale seems a bit depressing to me, especially the part where the teenagers beat the creature to death. I guess they were scared that it was a monster and it would eat them if it got the chance. Would you beat up a bizarre hairless monster if you saw it wash up on the beach? This image from Google Earth was apparently taken in a very populated spot near Kent, England. The spot is quite popular for crab fishing, so imagine the horror when a giant, terrifying 15-meter wide crab was spotted just off the dock. The image looks incredibly fake, but again, it was a Google Earth picture. It seems a bit more than photoshopped. Between the look of the crab, the angle of it in the pic, the graininess of certain parts of the photo, there are a lot of warning bells for hijinks. That being said, there are people who swear up and down that the massive crab was indeed real, and they actually saw it in the waters before it scuttled away. To be clear, there are some pretty big crabs in the world. There's one off the coast of Japan that is 3.6 meters wide when its legs are spread out. Yes, this crab would be 4 times that in size, but still it's not impossible given there are mammoth creatures out there in the world. It's just unlikely that it was caught by Google Earth, despite what many would claim. What do you think? Is there a giant crab hiding in the waters near England? Most people would do just about anything to save their pets from danger or death. If there is any kind of rescue that pet owners would fear, it's having to go up against a terrifying animal to save your own. Such was the case when one puppy owner found his darling dog in the jaws of an alligator. This happened in Florida, of course, where Richard Wilbanks, a 74-year-old man, ran into his backyard pond, wrestled the gator above surface, and pried its jaws open to free his little dog named Gunner. "We were just out walking by the pond," Wilbanks told CNN, "and it came out of the water like a missile. I never thought an alligator could be that fast. It was so quick." Just as quick was Wilbanks, who could feel his adrenaline going as he felt the urge to save his dog from the alligator. According to him, holding down the gator wasn't that difficult, but getting the gator to open up its mouth to free the dog? That was extremely hard, according to him, which makes sense. Gators and crocs are legendary and infamous for their bite force. And do remember that this was not a spry young man. This was a man in his 70s who very easily could have also been the victim of this gator, but instead, he was the rescuer, and now has a story that even his fellow Floridians would be jealous of. On a beach in North Carolina, something resembling a winged gargoyle was discovered by a terrified witness. A tourist from West Virginia spotted the mysterious creature while visiting Hatteras Island. It looked like a crocodile mixed with a fish, mixed with some kind of unknown monster. Pictures of the beast were uploaded to the local Facebook group, but nobody in the area could identify it. One person said they'd been going to the beach for years and had never seen anything like it. People have found shipwrecks, dead whales, and even bombs from World War II on this beach, but never something like this. So what was the dead creature really? It was never officially identified, although experts guessed it could have been the rotting carcass of a marine animal, specifically an Atlantic angel shark, also known as a monkfish. These creatures can grow up to 2 meters long, according to the Florida Museum of Natural History, and are known for inflicting severe lacerations on unsuspecting people who get too close. Unfortunately, the corpse vanished before anyone could properly investigate it, and to this day, nobody knows the true identity of the ugly gargoyle in the sand. Now, let's go back to World War II on the Pacific Front, where a very odd monster sighting occurred. You see, at that time, many soldiers were placed in the area known as the K Islands, and the soldiers reported seeing mermaids. But to the locals, these weren't mermaids, they were the legendary orange iken, which in their tongue means manfish. The Japanese soldiers didn't have one encounter with this iken, they had several, including one at a lagoon where they saw an iken jump onto a rock and it started growling at them. A sergeant named Mr. Taro spoke to the villagers and requested if any of the orange iken were captured, dead or alive, to contact him immediately. It was soon after that that the chief summoned the general and to his astonishment saw with his own eyes the lifeless aquatic creature. He described what he saw as roughly 1.5 meters tall, pinkish skin, human-looking face and limbs, spikes along its head, and a mouth like a cup. After the war, Taro and others went back to the islands to try and find proof of the orange econ, but they were never able to get anything definitive. Yet, think about this. They were so convinced that they were real that they were willing to go back after the war to try and find them. That doesn't happen unless they truly believed in what they saw. Do you believe the soldiers really saw these strange mermaid-like creatures? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Oarfish are forever going to be a very curious thing found in our oceans. They're the largest of the bony fish, and when they were first discovered, they were believed to be a hoax. But in fact, they're very real, and they've been discovered on beaches all over the world, and they can get quite big. But in 2019, a duo from Baja found a young oarfish in the waters and were able to rescue it, after they revived it, of course. Noah and Jacob Thompson from Texas found the juvenile oarfish struggling near the La Capilla in Baja California's East Cape region. After discovering it, they brought it into the deeper waters, and when they did, the oarfish was able to swim away. You might be wondering, well, why is this an unusual animal rescue? That would be because the oarfish are famous for being deep-sea fish. Typically, humans don't see them when they're alive. Their bodies are meant for the deep oceans, and so when they wash up on the shores, like in the picture before, it's usually because they're already dead. So for these two guys to find an oarfish and then be able to revive it and send it back to the deep waters? Yeah, that's rare. What a couple of good Samaritans. A hiker exploring a remote woodland in Australia encountered something that he thought was a stinky alien corpse. The unnamed hiker smelled the creature before he saw it. He described the stench as foul, like the sick aroma of a decomposing human body. The hiker began to poke around in the bushes, thinking that there was a dead person buried in the woods. However, he quickly discovered what seemed to be the red, starfish-like body of an animal. It was definitely the source of the stench. It was covered in flies, and the hiker assumed it was dead. He took some pictures of it and moved on. But here's where things get strange. After uploading pictures of what he thought was an animal, people on the internet quickly identified the thing as an organic plant. It was actually a type of growth known for being incredibly odorous. The growth is called a stinkhorn, a type of mushroom that exudes a horrifying stench on purpose to attract flies to pollinate it. It basically pretends to be a dead animal so that flies will be drawn to it. And while it's not exactly an alien creature, it is a living thing and absolutely disgusting. Stinkhorn is known for 3 distinct scents: sewage, rotten meat, and feces. Not something I'd want in my neighborhood, that's for sure. This story comes from a man who used to work at a cheese factory in Minnesota. He worked late nights, and sometimes the job was done early and the workers were allowed to horse around in order to pass the time. One night at around 3 a.m., he was looking at the cornfield with the lights of his truck on. He said he likes being out at night, and he saw some bats flying around. But then, he saw something else. I looked down at the edge of the cornfield. Something was moving there. It was the size of a small child and very, very skinny. Pale, with something that looked like a head of straight, black hair. It moved in a sort of jerky gait, like someone dancing the robot badly. It moved in chunks. Legs, then hips, then torso, shoulders, neck, and finally head. It was looking back into the cornfield, or at least I felt like it was. At first, he tried to rationalize that it was just a bird like a heron, but there was no way it could have been that. And then it noticed him. It moved. Its face still pointed at me. It ratcheted its body in that disconcerting, jerky movement towards the cornfield and went into it. I tried to watch where the field moved as it passed, but the corn remained perfectly still. Something very curious about that sighting, according to the man, is that when the creature came out, all the other animals were silent. No crickets, no other bugs, nothing. He waited for an hour for the entity to return, but it never did, and he might be happy that it didn't come back. Last November in Fairfield, Connecticut, a dog named Lexi was with her owner, Brandy Solomon. They were going to a farm that was owned by a friend. Nothing wrong with that, right? Except when she was there, she got spooked by something and ran off into the nearby woods and got lost. What happened next was nothing short of astonishing, because the dog was gone for over 41 days. Hundreds of people started to look for Lexi, and when word got around that Lexi had been spotted by security cameras near a certain spot, Brandy immediately went to the area. "I think I'm still in a little bit of shock, honestly," Solomon said. "I think it's hard to believe she's sitting here right next to me after 6 weeks of day and night searching for her." Lexi herself was fine, surprisingly enough. She had only a few small injuries and had lost a few pounds, but was overall okay and was more than happy to see her owner again. "She recognized me and her tail started wagging and she started happy crying," said Solomon, "and we loaded the trap into the car. She ran right inside, cried for my whole family." The trap in this case was strategic traps that were placed around the area where Lexi was spotted in order to find her. It may be atypical, but it worked, and that's what matters. Scientists recently filmed one of the most elusive and bizarre animals in the ocean, a creature which they know pretty much nothing about. The animal was filmed by an underwater robot deep in the Pacific Ocean. The creature in question was a glass octopus, something that lives up to 3,000 meters beneath the surface. It was spotted 5,000 kilometers from Australia, completely transparent except for its cylindrical eyes, which happened to be a bright orange. The creature looks like it should be floating out in the vacuum of space, and yet it lives right here on our planet. Amazingly, the underwater expedition had 2 encounters with a single glass octopus, marking the first time scientists got a clear look at one. The creature was first identified in 1918, but it hasn't really been seen much since, giving it a kind of mythical status. Scientists don't know how many of these creatures live in our oceans. They also don't know how they manage to be opaque, with bodies that look like they're made from glass. The Chupacabra is one of the most famous monsters in the world. The sightings happened in multiple places: Latin America, Texas, New Mexico, and more. It was said to go after sheep and other livestock and quite literally drain their blood. There are some that don't believe it, but there are many that do. Enter Benjamin Radford, who believed that there was something going on out in his native New Mexico area, but he just didn't know what. "This was a much more local mystery to me," said Radford. "I didn't have to go to Inverness or Borneo, it was right here in my backyard." He went on a mission to find out the truth behind the creature, one way or the other, even finding out the original person who's told the story, Madeline Tolentino. Radford was determined to find out what it is, while also being respectful of both science and myth. "I was, of course, initially skeptical of the creature's existence," he said. "At the same time, I was mindful that new animals have yet to be discovered. I didn't want to just debunk or dismiss it. If the Chupacabra is real, I wanted to find it." After finding DNA from the Chupacabra's victims, he confirmed what many others had suspected. There wasn't a monster per se, but rather various creatures like dogs and coyotes suffering from a bad case of mange that made them lose their fur in such a way that they became unrecognizable. Still, even with this evidence, the legend persists. Do you believe in the Chupacabra? In New Jersey, a very curious incident happened that almost cost 3 kittens their lives. A backpack that was put onto a conveyor belt in a recycling plant. Luckily, workers heard the noise of the innocent little kitten crying. Someone, who obviously had a black hole for a heart, had put the kittens in a backpack and abandoned them in a recycling bin. The bin was loaded up and poured in with the rest of the recyclable materials and almost crushed. Thankfully, the kittens were rescued and were found to be in good health. What's more, this rescue was done right before Christmas, and in a true Christmas miracle, they were all adopted. Burlington County Freeholder Director Felicia Hobson had this to say on the matter: "While abandoning animals like this is unconscionable and those responsible should be prosecuted, our entire board was relieved to learn the kittens were unharmed and that they now have new homes with loving families. We cannot thank these workers enough. And as a small gesture, we wanted to give them some additional supplies to help make the holidays even brighter for their new companions." What do you think the punishment for such a horrible act should be? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. You'd think we'd have a good idea of most of the strange creatures that lived during the time of the dinosaurs, but new surprises keep on cropping up. Tens of millions of years ago, there was a creature that scientists are calling the monkeydactyl, a bizarre mix between a modern monkey and a prehistoric pterodactyl This could actually be the oldest creature to be born with opposable thumbs. It lived 160 million years ago, and scientists believe it evolved thumbs to help it climb through the trees, to hunt for insects and other prey, critters that the other pterosaurs of the time couldn't feast upon. This would have given it a huge advantage when it came to survival. The monkeydactyl was first identified in 2019 when a team of paleontologists unearthed its fossilized remains in China. By using CT scans, scientists were able to 100% confirm one opposable thumb on each hand. However, scientists don't know much else about the animal or how its use of the thumb inspired just about every modern animal today that climbs trees, from monkeys to frogs. For centuries, people have been searching for the legendary Yeti, and now in an unceremonious tweet, the Indian Army claims to have found evidence of the mythical Himalayan monster. In 2019, the verified Twitter account of the Indian Army's Additional Directorate General of Public Information tweeted a picture of what it claimed were Yeti tracks in the snow. The post, which was accompanied by 3 pictures of footprints and a group photo which appeared to be the expedition group, said this with the tweet. For the first time, an Indian Army mountaineering expedition team has sighted mysterious footprints of mythical beast Yeti. This elusive snowman has only been sighted at Makalu Barun National Park in the past. The prints were seen on April 9th close to Makalu Base Camp, an isolated mountainous area between Nepal and Tibet, allegedly measuring 81 centimeters by 38 centimeters. And not surprisingly, the tweet prompted all kinds of responses on social media, with many rebuking the Indian military for propagating theories previously debunked by science. Others made jokes about the tweet, with the hashtag Yeti skyrocketing. The Indian Army provided no further evidence of its find, and have not replied to CNN's request for comment. There has also been plenty of other shows on various networks, including accredited networks like Discovery Channel, that have gone on to try and prove that the Yeti exists. The problem is that while some scientists do claim that there is evidence pointing to something being out there, it always seems to fall apart upon trying to get more proof of it. There are footprints and clumps of hair, but not a whole lot more than that. What also needs to be remembered though is that up on mountains you can have visibility problems and oxygen problems, more than enough to cause you to see things that you think are there, but likely aren't. Do you think the Indian Army really saw Yeti footprints? Let us know in the comments below. If there is one thing that leads to animals needing to be rescued, it's that of illegal hunting and trapping, also known as poaching. Horrible people will line forests, rivers, lakes and more with their traps in order to get ill-gotten gains so they can make money, and they don't care who they hurt, even if it's innocent dogs. A young dog was caught in an illegal coyote trap. Because it couldn't get out, it was there for days in agonizing pain. When it was discovered by people, they weren't able to get close enough to it because the dog was so afraid. So what did they do? They fed it food. Specifically, they fed it a hamburger. The intent was to show that they were there to help. To ensure that the dog didn't get away, they used a soccer net to trap it so it wouldn't try and run, and with a dedicated group of volunteers, they were able to free the dog. The dog was able to be given to a family who named it Hermione. This lucky pup is now living a wonderful life in a happy home. And if you're out and about and see any illegal traps, please report it to the proper authorities. Something absolutely ghastly has just been spotted in the clouds of Jupiter. It's being described as a horrifying cloud monster, and its discovery actually shocked NASA and space enthusiasts all around the world. According to Fox News, something that looks like a mythical creature was hiding in the billowing swells of Jupiter's complex cloud system. That's right, there is something unexplained in the great storms that make up the largest planet in the solar system. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory revealed images taken from the Juno spacecraft currently circling Jupiter. On October 29th, as it passed by the floating clouds from 6,700 kilometers away, the spacecraft took a picture. Inside that picture is what seems to be the eye of a dragon, possibly belonging to a much larger entity living inside the clouds. Of course, this probably isn't really the case. It's doubtful that a giant dragon is ruling over Jupiter with its throne in the gaseous cloud system over the planet. In reality, the dragon eye is just a coincidence. The same way if you stare up at the moving clouds long enough, you'll eventually spot a monster. NASA explained that the circling clouds are part of an anticyclonic storm, with the clouds probably composed of ammonia and unknown chemicals. Anything that did manage to survive in there would be a true galactic titan, and I wouldn't want to disturb it in any way. There are always going to be tales of unique creatures coming from the sea and someone interacting with it, but for one man named Adam, a family vacation to Florida led to him and his family finding a very strange creature. They went to a beach on the southern tip of Florida, and after a while of relaxing, someone pointed something out. A woman sitting to the left of us pointed past us to our right, asking, "What is that?" We all turned and looked to a surprisingly vacant corner of the beach. There were no people down there, but what was there was something really bizarre. We all got up to get a better look, very quickly forming a crowd around it. If I had to describe the creature we saw in one word, that word would be cartoonish. He went on to note that it appeared to be kind of like a green ball of slime, but also had tentacles and a tail. Its eyes were said to be the most cartoonish element of it all, as Adam says it was almost like a human, and the expression of the eyes made it seem like the creature was disinterested in them all. After a while of staring at it, the creature slinked back to the ocean, and Adam, along with the other witnesses, spent loads of time talking about what in the world they just saw. When you hear that an aquatic animal is in need of rescue, you might think it got caught in pollution or litter or abandoned nets or something of the like. But for one seal pup in Wales, it got caught in a gym. No lie. Apparently, the little guy had come from a river and somehow gotten its way inside the gym and then found itself among the treadmills. I mean, cardio is key, but that silly pup can get its cardio in by swimming. Come on. Needless to say, the gym crew were a bit shocked by its appearance and then carefully ushered it back out into the water. Just 2 weeks, the same seal pup found itself stuck in a ditch full of oily water. Thankfully, the seal was eventually put into a rehab center for wildlife, where oily water and treadmills won't be bothering it anymore. There is a mysterious creature living in the Congo that has been compared to the Loch Ness Monster from Scotland. It's called Mokele-mbembe, and curious monster hunters have been searching for the beast ever since the 1700s. One of the most famous hunts was when Dr. Roy Mackal from the University of Chicago took a team of experts into the vast swampy rainforest of the inner Congo, mostly inhabited by pygmies, to try and produce evidence of the creature. The Mokele-mbembe is said to be a giant reptile with a long neck and tail, probably a herbivore, and with a habit of murdering elephants. This is actually part of a larger myth that says dinosaurs are still thriving deep in some of the lesser explored areas of the Congo. However, after 50 expeditions into the region, many of them led by professional scientists, not a single piece of evidence has been found. All we have are the eyewitness accounts of an imposing sea monster occasionally rising out of the water and eating whatever, or whoever happens to be standing too close to the shore. Honestly, if you ask scientists what they believe, they would probably guess that it is some type of crocodilian, not some mythical dinosaur living millions of years after its cousins went extinct. Japanese folklore has all kinds of tales of monsters that are known to come in contact with humans. In 2004, a man named Brian claims to have had an interaction with one of the more infamous ones, the kitsune. He was traveling in a tourist area on his own and ended up in a forest near a mountain. He came across an old man who told him to follow him. When they did, they talked at length about Japan and the world, until eventually the old man departed and told him to go down a trail to get back to the city. The problem was that despite following those instructions, he got lost, and that's when things got weird. As I shone my flashlight around, I noticed an old white fox watching me from nearby. I could have sworn it was watching me with an amused look on its face, but as soon as I shone my light on it, it ran off into the bushes. I remember reading all sorts of old Japanese stories and legends about fox spirits that can take human form, and I feel I may have truly seen one that day. Whether he did or didn't will never truly be known, but kitsune are known to be tricksters and even demons at times. Was the old man real at all? Or was he a kitsune trying to trick him into getting lost in the forest? Wildfires or bushfires are no joking matter, and as residents of Australia and California will happily tell you in recent times, they're not just a danger to people, but to the various animals that live in the affected areas, and they need to be rescued. In 2018, the Paradise wildfires in California caused a whole lot of animals to flee for their lives, including a pair of donkeys that ran down the road when the blaze tried to get them. Thankfully for the donkeys, they were able to run into a group of firefighters that were able to rescue them in a most curious way. They used cupcakes to lure them away from the fires and to a safe area. Apparently, the donkeys liked the cupcakes quite a bit. Good thing the firefighters had the tasty pastries handy. You can't have a weird creature sightings list without talking about Bigfoot, at least a little. Mainly because Bigfoot has been seen by so many that he's become a part of culture. So much that there are entire shows dedicated to trying to find Bigfoot. And some have even turned Bigfoot into a character to be used as a mascot for products, or even characters in movies. But if you dig deep into the sightings of Bigfoot, you're going to come across a lot of weird things. Not all the sightings are the same. Most are found in North America, but some, including some by legendary explorers, were found in South America. Stories also vary in terms of the intelligence of the creature, with some saying it's animalistic, while others saying it's as smart as a human. In 1994, Paul Freeman claimed he saw a whole family of Bigfoot in Washington's Blue Mountains. His video was shaky and grainy, but has been deemed the real deal by so-called Bigfoot experts. In October 2012, a group of siblings hiking in Provo Canyon in Utah thought they had spotted a bear in the woods. They immediately reached for their camera to start filming. Then the creature stood up on two legs. The hikers ran, abruptly ending the shaky video. A year later, the siblings launched a Kickstarter campaign to investigate other Bigfoot sightings. These are just a couple of stories. If you look online, you can find hundreds. In theory, a creature like Bigfoot isn't that far-fetched a notion. The only catch is that if it is real, why hasn't more definitive proof been discovered? In August of 2020, something very unexpected happened. A hotline operator got an urgent call from the harbor master of Wellfleet, Massachusetts, alerting them to a severe situation where 45 dolphins had become stranded. If you're curious how this could happen with so many dolphins, that would be because of the terrain. It was known for its hook topography. This type of thing actually strands animals somewhat regularly. Not wanting to risk a mass death, the operator called in the entire rescue squad to rescue the poor dolphins. By the time they had gotten there, 2 of the dolphins had already died. The team were racing against the elements. The muddy area made it hard to do anything. The tide was coming in, and it was getting hotter with each passing minute. The team had to adapt on the fly in order to save the dolphins. Though it was touch and go, 39 of the original 45 dolphins were able to be saved. You no doubt know that dogs are famous for their sense of smell, which can help them detect food when they're hungry, bring down criminals holding drugs, and more. But in Australia, we have a more specific use for these dogs. Canines are used to sniff out koalas in trouble. As noted before, wildfires are no joke, and dreadful bushfires in Australia are just as bad, and are literally wiping out most of the koala habitats, which obviously puts the koala population at extreme risk. So dogs are trained to sniff out these creatures in their destroyed habitats so they can be rescued, healed, and put into safer areas. For one such canine, Bear, an Australian coolie dog, he was not only good at his job, but he was very good at his job. In about 6 months, he personally sniffed out over 100 koala bears for rescue. That is a very good boy. Thanks for watching. What did you think about these amazing and unusual animal rescues? Have you ever rescued an animal in need of saving? Has an animal ever rescued you? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye!